Yo, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, yo, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, I am my number one fan. I'm trying to get you from here to there. I'm trying to show niggas it ain't fair. How I just came up, but you not there. Stuck in the same situation you been in. They got the plug, you got the sound. You not just a groupie that's hanging around. They got the stage, but you bring the lights. It's enough room at the top, we ain't gotta fight. I am my number one fan. I am that legend you stand for. When the crowd disperse.
Yo.
How my neighbors doing?
Everybody should be doing great.
I hope.
What you
I really hope. I just hope that everyone is doing great.
I think they are. I think they really are. It's fall time. You know, the weather is changing on us, man. Time's getting ready to fall back. You know, I feel great. How you feel?
I'm cool, but you know, there's a lot of things that's going on in our neighborhood, y'all.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and truth be told, we're losing a lot of people right now.
We are, man. We lose, especially in particular in the black community. We losing a lot of our civil rights pioneers and a lot of those that were that mean a lot to us as far as helping us to get through a lot of things.
So, as y'all well know, the Honorable Elijah Cummings passed away.
Yeah.
What did you know about him?
Well, as far as I know that he was the head of the appropriations for the Senate, I believe it was, or the House. I'm not sure which one. Mm-hmm. But he was the guy they had to go to approve everything for the moving of the money. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that helped out a lot when it came time for foolishness not to be done. And he could make the right corrections and stuff and make sure that the money was spent accordingly and correctly, you know. Also, he's I known him as a civil rights pioneer. He marched with Dr. Martin Luther King, Jesse Jackson, and those brothers down in Selma, and a couple other things he has done. And he's a son of a sharecropper. He's born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, I believe. And he's only one of the, I think it's like him and maybe a couple other sitting senators or congressmen that actually lived in their district.
Yeah.
You know, he really actually got to know his people.
Right.
You know, which was very important when it comes to politics and politicians. You know, I think that's the key to learning what your constituents want and need by you living there, you know, so that like he never left his grassroots.
Right.
You know, he also was a big opposition against this president, you know, and he was a really big help, man. He done a lot of stuff, not just in Baltimore, but across the United States.
Right.
And he will truly and deeply be missed, you know, and the only thing I can say about this is that if we all was to strive to be not exactly like him, but similar models of him,
right,
man, this world would be great.
Well, you know, so just a point of reference, he was in the House of Representatives.
He was in the House, and
he was over the it was actually the Committee on Oversight and Reform. That's what it was called.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, you know, with this gentleman, and I'm not sure if people are really into conspiracy theories and things like that, but you just notice how anything that is not going the way people in power feel,
right,
they start to remove other people,
right, and
you just wonder if Rep. Cummings was in that place.
Yeah, it's one to think about, especially you know. He was 68.
Yeah.
You know, which is not too old and older than most.
Right.
But the way he represented himself and the way he looked like he was healthy.
Right.
He looked like there was nothing really wrong with
right.
him, you know, other than the fact that he was 68 years old. So he's supposed to have passed away from some type of complications of something, but they was never mentioned. So that also contributes to conspiracy theories.
It does.
That something happened to him that wasn't supposed to happen to him, you know. And you know, you can think what you want to think, or it's just that coincidence or sometimes not coincidence.
Right. And excuse me, I think as we look at where the state of our union, quote unquote,
Right.
Would he have been an integral part with this oversight and reform committee?
I believe he would.
You know, and as everyone is having all these meltdowns, from Pelosi to
Chuck Schumer and all them. Yeah.
What's his name? What's the bull that's Trump's the guy that they denouncing now? That just did I can't think of his name.
Who, the one that said there's something about
the quid? He's like,
quid pro quo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't think of his name. And,
you know, he's
and
like everybody doesn't, and they're saying everybody doesn't do it. You know, so
and it's crazy how these people can just get on TV,
right,
be recorded,
right,
saying one thing, and then come back the next day and say, "No, that's not what I meant."
Right.
Yeah, but you said it.
Right.
Let me tell you something. I couldn't come to you, Reese, and be like, Reese, blah 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 blah, and then tomorrow come back like, no, that's not what I meant when I said it.
Well,
this is what I meant.
So again, like you said, it's one thing to say it directly to a person,
right? And
you come back, you think about it, it's like, you know what, maybe I didn't mean it that way, but for what they're talking about, you have to be almost on point every time you open up your mouth.
Every time,
you know, and people might be like, well, you know, what are y'all becoming more political? 'Cause I'm gonna let y'all know, I ask myself that all the time.
Well,
but it does. All of these things affects our neighborhood, though.
Right. That's why I don't think it says that we're. I don't think we come off as political. I just think that we approached the issues, like you said, that affect our communities and our neighborhood.
Right.
And this stuff does affect our communities and our neighborhood.
Very much so.
You know? And like, you know, here at the Neighbors Podcast, our main goal is to promote and create unity.
Right.
You know, and we want to have everything. We not a safe haven, but we want to be able to make sure that when I walk out my door, you can walk out your door.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how we want it to be. It doesn't matter what color you are, what race you are, what you're going through. Like I said, I don't care if you worship Fred, which we all know is a head of lettuce, or, you know, if you're a Buddhist, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Christian, or if you're whatever, Jewish, or whatever. It's the whole thing is about us coming together and getting along and stop having these divides between each other, because it's the only way that we're going to have a strong and thriving community and neighborhood.
But see, I think part of that comes from just overall hate, you know,
correct.
Because, you know, you have a lot, and people are like, oh, I'm not a hater. Well, when, you know, a lot of times when you're not, maybe you're not a hater. Maybe you're just not a very cheerful person. Right. Maybe you haven't touched the rainbow. You know, maybe, you know, who knows what it might be. Maybe not, you ain't find your pot of gold, you know, when you were younger with the Lucky Charms. Who knows what it is.
Right.
You know, but the thing is, you know, as we get older, I know we become a little more cynical and things like that, and not necessarily because life does not always go in the direction that we would like,
right?
You know,
correct.
that we hope for,
correct.
You know, so we ultimately become a little more nasty and set in our ways also, and saying that, as we take a look at what's, in my opinion, as we look at what heads our nation,
mm-hmm.
is exactly what we are on an everyday basis. I think Obama and what they portrayed was something that most people felt as though it was unattainable. Where you have now another leader who's in office, who's having these meltdowns, going back and forth, and ready to, you know, what's his name? Say he was, you know, ready to go meet him outside type thing.
Right.
You get what I mean? So those are the type of things that, you know, from day to day, most of us are used to.
And I understand that. I do understand that. But the majority of us that go through that know how to work through that, because we have been going through it so long. So we know how to maneuver through that. We know how to change our thought of thinking. We know how not to disrespect somebody, because we know that once we disrespect, there's consequences. We understand that, you know. And I agree with you that, yeah, a lot of things that are being said are things that people have been harboring, things that people have been holding back, and they just feel as though that we can do and say whatever we want. And speaking of that, and
mm-hmm.
not to change subjects against Brother Cummings, but there was an incident in Philadelphia, PA. I believe it happened last summer. with a young black brother. His name was Michael White,
Right.
and it was a realtor. I believe his name was. I want to make sure his name is right. I want to say Shriver, but I think it was either Shoemaker or Shriver. And I just can't think of his name right quick, but I'll look it up real in a second so I can tell you exactly his name. Whereas though that the young brother was he was a bicycle delivery guy, church going brother. You know, he was very avid in his college. He was very avid in his neighborhood, in his church. You know, never been arrested, never had anything wrong with him. And this developer was with some friends downtown.
His name is Schellinger.
Schellinger, yeah. Yep. I just wanted to make sure. I don't like to mess nobody's name up because I don't want my name messed up.
Right.
So the guy Schellinger and his friends were downtown Center City.
Yep.
And they ran across this young brother. Something had happened, and they got into an argument. And at the end of this argument, as a result of this young brother feeling threatened and for his life, he ended up stabbing Schellinger, and he ended up killing him. So, you know, a year goes by. He's black, Schellinger's white. And then they just went to court the other day, and the young brother was acquitted of involuntary manslaughter. So it's similar to the case about the police officer killing the brother that was home, similar as far as the race issue is concerned.
So I liken what happened to Brother White to Trayvon Martin in a sense of it did come up as far as that stand your ground thing.
Well, it's.
And that's what
I think they use it because there is no stand your ground in Pennsylvania.
It's called protect your castle.
Protect your castle.
Yeah.
But how you lose that is, and you can't use that argument is that neither one of them was on their own property. They were on city property because it happened, I think, near Rittenhouse Square, whatnot, near the park. And
well, when you think about it,
that's why they tried to argue the involuntary manslaughter because there is no self-defense in Pennsylvania. But if you argue it a certain way, it comes out to be involuntary manslaughter. There is no self-defense in Pennsylvania. There's never have, and hopefully that changes. But this young brother, which is usually when a case comes like this, when a black man kills a white man, usually the black man, especially if the white man is influent and the black guy is not, usually the black guy is found guilty and he gets the book thrown at him. But I'm just glad that all the evidence that came out, because it was video, you know, and you got to love technology this day, whether it's wrong or bad, whether it's something bad that happened, or, you know, you could use it for bad or use it for good, but you got to love technology because technology catches everything. You know, it's right in the middle. So you can't say that this is what happened, and from your point of view, this is what you may have seen happen, but the camera caught exactly what happened. Right. So, you know, he went to court.
And so the reason why I liken it to the Trayvon Martin thing, because that wasn't technically on anybody's property either.
Right.
But they use that stand your ground with that.
Yeah, because in Florida, that's their main thing. They do that everywhere in Florida.
I mean, but in Pennsylvania, it's called the Castle Doctrine. Right. That's their law. So it's the same exact law. Yeah, but as we just call it different. But the key is that Pennsylvania, everybody has to remember that we are not a state.
Right, we're Commonwealth.
Right. And with that comes, you know, there's some other little trickery type things that, you know, kind of get slide by. But Pennsylvania stands a little, my understanding is that Pennsylvania when they say that Castle Doctrine, they stand a little closer to, hey, it has to happen closer in your house.
Right.
Versus it seemed like it's a little more lenient in, I think, Florida and Mississippi, or it's another little state down that way.
Right.
But, you know, I think that's one of the things that had come up in the case with our Brother White, you know, that stand your ground piece, because of he felt like he was threatened. I mean, it was 3 against 1.
He was threatened. He was defending himself.
You know, so I'm glad that they were able to be objective,
right,
in this situation.
Right.
And of course, color comes into everything.
Right.
As much as people want to say it doesn't, but it does. And we have to just, as a neighborhood, as a community, how do you get around that? I understand that, first looks, first, your appearance is your first impression of somebody, whatever it might be, but how do you get around that? How do you get onto that Martin Luther King of, that character and, things like that? Like, that's how you go,
It's really hard because, first of all, let me just say this real quick. I don't want nobody to think that we're one-sided. It is a good thing what happened with this young man, because usually people of color, when they go through the judicial system, they are on the latter side of the judicial system, where they're the ones that's always being prosecuted. They're the ones going to jail. And we want to take this time and send out our condolences to the Schillinger family, because they lost their son. You know, they did lose their son. And I'm not putting blame on anybody. I'm just looking at the facts.
Yeah,
that what was going on. So I don't want nobody to even think that we are one-sided about anything.
No, we're just
presenting the facts.
Right. We're talking about the law.
And we're talking about the law with the case.
Right.
And what was going on with it.
Right.
I just don't want nobody, because sometimes people, they hear something and they're like, oh, these guys are this and that. And it's not that. We're just presenting everything that was presented to us and how we learned about it.
And what did I just say? I said, how do we get around the color piece?
Right. And it's hard because dealing with the history of this country, it is very difficult, because every time we take a step forward, we're taking 2 steps back.
Yeah.
So it is very difficult. So, and I don't want nobody to think that the Michael White case is a win, because this is not a win. This is something that should have been happening for years, because you have innocent people that are locked up right now today for something either that he didn't do, or a self-defense thing, or, were framed for something. And because the judicial system didn't take the time, or the juries, the people that they picked on a jury were supposed to be a jury of their peers, were either lopsided. I hate to say that, but lopsided as far as it was one race of people one way and one race of people the other way, and they're not looking at the facts. This case, the people actually looked at the facts. The DA done their due diligence, excuse me, and I think this guy's doing a pretty good. He's getting a bad rap, but I think he's doing the best he can with what he has, because he's really helping to turn around a lot of things. Because the whole thing is us being as people of color and our history with the police. We have a fear thing there, because the only time you seen the police, they was coming in to knock your head off.
So interesting that you said that. I was looking at YouTube the other day, and this lady, and she talks about how she was in her house. Her windows goes from pretty much from the ceiling to the floor.
Right.
So you can see clearly that she's home.
Right.
You can see clearly she's in the house. Her dog is barking. Her dog needs to go outside. She puts her dog outside in her backyard.
Right.
So when she puts the dog outside, her dog is chilling, going to the bathroom. She goes back into the living room to friends watching TV. Next thing she knows, she hears her dog barking profusely, going crazy, right? She goes outside. She goes towards the back door in her kitchen. She says she sees flashlights, right? And seeing the flashlights, she gets to the back door. She says, "Who's outside?" And they say it's the police.
Right.
The police walk up on her with their guns drawn, and they said, "We were called because we heard there was a complaint about a barking dog." She says in this, it looked like it was a town hall meeting. She says it with the police there, everybody's there, white, black, everybody is there, right? And she's saying that in that particular case, all she wanted to do is have her dog alive.
Right.
She said if she was a black woman, she knows that the black woman would have been said, all I want to do is to live.
Right.
So in that, when you're talking about just the disparity of what our concerns are versus what others are.
Right.
Because all she wanted to do is make sure her dog was alive. She had no fear about her own life.
Her own life. Opposed to if it was a black woman, she'd have been fearing for her own life. She'd be like, damn, the dog, because I'm worried about me right now.
Right.
And this was in Texas, wasn't it?
I'm trying to look it up.
And I think I seen that town hall meeting, because before her it was a white lady.
Yes, it was.
Before her was a young black brother that described, because there was a shooting in Texas where the police was supposed to have went for a wellness call.
Right.
At this house.
Yep.
And it's similar to what the white lady had described. And this young girl, she was 28 years old. She was babysitting her nephew. Her nephew's like 8. And it's like 2:00 in the morning. And they're playing, they're playing the game and stuff like that. So their window was open. And I think their door was open. That was the reason the neighbor had called, because they didn't know why the door was open.
Right.
And they were concerned. So the police, this police officer, he rolled up on her, told her to put her hands down, shine the light in her face first, put your hands down. And I guess she didn't move fast enough. And then he shot her.
Right.
Like 3 or 4 times.
But did you see who called though? Who was the caller?
It was the neighbor.
Yeah, but he's African American too.
Yeah, but he was doing a wellness check.
Yeah.
So I want to know how he feels after making this call, because what came out was this. The officer resigned. Mm-hmm. The police chief said he was going to arrest this officer or put him on, suspension or whatever.
Right.
As soon as this incident happened, he jumped right on it.
Mm-hmm.
So he went into action, but the guy resigned. So he became a civilian. So he went out, got his bail. He was out the next day. He was out, and he's back on the street. Mm-hmm. So now what they're saying is this, that he wasn't called there for a wellness check. He was called for some other type of check. Regardless of whatever check you were calling there, why is it so hard for these officers to not assess the situation and always shoot first?
Again, I think in that story, didn't they say they found a gun like on a table somewhere?
Yeah, but I think it was registered to somebody else in the house.
Yeah,
or
like
whatnot.
So again,
but she didn't reach for this gun.
No, not at all. But I think that was one of the other things that had come out, that hey, there was a gun in the house. But they did interview the gentleman who did make the call,
right?
And he on one hand he sounds remorseful, but on the other hand it's almost like he didn't care,
right?
Unfortunately,
right.
Because who knows? It might have been a problem.
It could have been.
But
you gotta feel some type of way. That's just like me calling. Instead of me coming knocking on your door and making a phone call to you to see if you're all right, and I call our police department up, and they come out there, and when they go into the house to investigate, they notice that something's wrong. Maybe something was knocked over. Maybe you had just dropped something, but it looks like it was a struggle here,
right? And
then they see you, and then they shoot you. Do you think I wouldn't feel bad about that? Well, I would feel some type of remorse about that.
Again, we don't know what their relationship was.
True.
They didn't have a podcast together.
Yeah, right. Well, maybe they did. They just didn't like it.
Yeah, right.
Trying to get a new co-host.
Their ratings were bad.
But the bigger point is this. If you notice, just like with the Michael White case, okay, so they brought out the issue that there was a gun present somewhere. Mm-hmm. This cop didn't see this gun.
Right.
All he seen was her, because she was at the window.
Right.
She's like, what are these lights doing in my window?
Right.
Well, I come from lights shining in my window, man. I'm trying to get away from them lights. I'm going to go around to the door, yo, I'm going to scream, holler, let yo, because I want to make sure that it's the right people at my house. Mm-hmm. And the point I'm trying to make is this. With the Michael White case, every time there's a person of color that's been killed, murdered, shot, whatever, they always bring in the fact, it was weed there, or it was this, or they had a police record. Yeah, but none of this was a factor when this person was killed.
Right.
And with the Michael White case, Schillinger was high. He had a very high level of cocaine in his system.
Yep.
He was very belligerent because of his status in society. And I hate to use this term, but it is what it is, white privilege. His status as this, and looking down at this guy who's riding a bike, he's a delivery guy, and he doesn't know what this background this young man comes from. Mm-hmm. He just sees him as somebody that's under him. Yep. And I'm going to talk to him any way I want to do and do whatever I want to him. But that's not brought up as an issue.
No.
None of that was brought up. That's just like when his mother, and like I say, condolences go out to his family. And his mother, the first thing she said when she got on TV was she wanted to get rid of the DA in Philadelphia. She mentioned him by name and said he did a terrible job. You didn't prosecute the right way, and you didn't put the right charges on, and all this is your fault. No, and I'm not saying this to be smart or anything, Mr. Schillinger. It was not his fault. It was not Larry Krasner's fault. And it was not Michael White's fault. Technically, it was your son and his friend's fault. And they shouldn't be like that, because I don't think nobody should force themselves or throw their views and opinions on other people when they don't want it.
Right.
So like I said, all I can go by is the evidence that we have, what we see from the video. The video itself exonerates the young man, and I'm not saying he got away with murder because we don't know what this young man in his mind that he has to go through with. Another thing that was brought out, like my wife brought this out to me, and I didn't even pay attention to this, and it was funny. And she was saying that one of the lawyers were on one of the local news shows, and they were saying not just the fact that the evidence was there, his character witnesses helped him out. So a lot of times, a lot of us that end up in prison, that go to court, we don't have character witnesses. We don't have people that we don't have people in there to come there and express the type of character that we have. Because when you're first arrested, when you're arrested, everybody automatically say, "Oh, he's been arrested, so he's got to be guilty," right? But in America, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
So I think the problem with the character witnesses, and in a lot of cases, just coming from my own background, sometimes people don't want to be caught up in some of that because they're scared that their past is going to be brought up in one way or another. Because what you're trying to do is just verify that person's character is good.
Correct.
Yours may not be, but theirs are. But then people are like, well, you know what? I got warrants, or I did this, I did that. I'm scared.
Those I don't think you would. I wouldn't want to bring that type of person to express my character either.
But sometimes,
but the majority, you have people like with me. My history is tainted, but that's not who I am today.
But see, I think that's the part that people kind of forget that, hey,
right.
If that's the old me, it's not who I am today. Unfortunately, though, people won't let others live past it.
Correct. I agree with you on that.
You get what I mean?
Agree with you on that.
So I think that's part of the issue with some of the character stuff, along with other people are probably too emotional.
Right.
And it's like, I can't have you up there because as soon as you open up your mouth, it's going to be all types of profanity and everything else.
Correct.
That's going to throw it off.
Right.
So it's almost like, I'm just better off just being by myself.
True. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
But like I said, this was one of the things that my wife brought out, and I was like, oh, I missed that.
Right.
I didn't even pay attention to that. That was a good catch, baby, because I didn't even think about, because I was so focused on the video and the evidence and what was not being said and what was being said that I didn't even think about the character witnesses.
Right.
Because, he had pastors, he had people from his church, people from his from college. This young man had, my thing is, I hope that whatever he went through now and God has given him a second chance at life, is that he takes this and he runs with this. Mm-hmm. So just to give y'all a little more on this story, his family and him have received like death threats. They want people texting them and putting on social media, you need to move out of Philadelphia, you need to get out of there and stuff like that. Which is it is what it is with that. We knew this was going to happen.
I mean, when you think about it, it doesn't matter who or what's going on. Everybody is getting that,
right,
to some degree.
Right.
It's not it's hard to move forward today and all the other stuff that's been going on.
Of course.
You get what I mean? And understanding even our own rights in all of that, whether protective custody or whatever it might be, you may have to go through. But you have to find out really what's going on and what was best for you and your family.
Right.
Truth be told. But on the other side of that, unfortunately, people feel like, hey, once you do that, you change, you did this, you did that, like you're no longer the same person. But no, you got to do what's right for you and your squad.
Exactly.
And I hate to put it like this, but I think a lot of this stuff wouldn't be going on the way it's been if we reinstituted getting hit with the belt at a younger age.
Yeah,
you get what I mean? Because
discipline is good.
It
is good. It just don't abuse your child.
No, don't abuse. But I do believe that in just rearing the child the right way, will allow for some of these other things that's kind of going on, how haywire things are, man. Like this, carefree, but you could be carefree, but I'm going to limit your carefreeness.
Correct.
That's what's going on.
I understand.
So, and that's one of the things, and we're going to go around full circle. That's one of the things that, who we start talking about was the Honorable Elijah Cummings, being a civil rights advocate. Mm-hmm. For him, being born in 1951 and having to go through everything, the whole civil rights piece. And what was that like for him in Baltimore?
Yeah, because he went through Jim Crow. He went through the tail end of Jim Crow. He went through the Black Codes, all this stuff that was going on down there. Because remember, Baltimore is in Maryland, which is close to the southern states. So that's as close as you're going. This is the farthest north you're going to get. That's close to a southern state, right? But he went through a lot of adversity and a lot of racism,
right?
And he overcame that because I seen this thing that he did, and he was explaining how he didn't want to be like what his father and grandfather was. Mm-hmm. He didn't want nobody to put limitations on what he can do.
Right.
This is why I said if all of us would just have a tenth of how this man was, and wouldn't set these limitations on us, and just if something that you want to do, you go out and you do it.
Yeah.
You accomplish it. You find out what you need to know about it, find out how to do it, and do it. You're gonna have obstacles, sure, but you just have to overcome those obstacles. You're gonna have hurdles, and you just gotta keep practicing. If you don't get them the first time, keep practicing so you can jump over them the next time.
Yeah, right.
But it is just sad how in this day and age, and how far people have come, how far America has come, that we resort back to certain ways and attitudes and just the way life is today.
And I think part of that is some of us not being educated enough.
True.
And really understanding who and what's our focus? Where are we trying to go? What do we need to achieve?
Right.
As we are trying to move the neighborhood forward, again, trying to break down racial / color lines, as we are trying to break down some of the financial barriers, even though we do understand that a lot of this stuff is not going to happen, at least not in our lifetime anyway.
Right. You never know. You might be on your 89th year of age, and then you'd be like, oh, because whoever thought we was going to have a black president?
Yeah.
My grandmother was 92 when she passed, so she was in her late 80s, early 90s. I mean, her late 80s when Obama was elected president, and that was something that she thought she would never see, and God allowed her to see that.
Right, and I think that that's some of the things that we all need to understand. That we are in a different place.
Right.
So I do believe that we can make a change.
Right.
As we continue to move forward.
And this is what we're trying to do here at the Neighbors Podcast.
So, I want y'all to be encouraged. I want y'all to be understanding of each other. Mm-hmm. And continue to uplift each other.
Yeah. And once again, rest in peace, the Honorable Elijah Cummings. Condolences go out to the Schillinger family, and I hate to say congratulations with Michael White, but I'd rather congratulate the system at this time because the system worked.
Right.
So I can congratulate the system because it did work. And Michael White, good luck to you, my brother. Just learn from this mistake, man. Not mistake, just learn from this and move on. So, we got to pay these bills.
Of course.
We got to get out of here.
And we hope that y'all will continue to tune in.
Every week.
And make sure that you like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done that already.
Yeah.
And as usual, our number one fan, it's not just Dawn this week, it's all of you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all of you. But Dawn, we love you, and we will make sure that we
We appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
man. We
Yeah,
really
it's so
appreciate
many
you
words
doing-
to say about
It's just
you.
so much that you can, doing, and everything that you do. And, like I say, guys, be on the lookout because Dawn is coming to us.
Yeah,
soon.
pretty much. All right, y'all. We love y'all,
Yes, we do.
and we talk to y'all.
Peace.
You are the agent and we look for change. You conquered the pressure and you did not fall, but you are a diamond and worth more than gold.